Welcome back to our channel, your ultimate source for the deepest dives into Genoa City's most gripping dramas. Today is a beautiful day to unpack the explosive secrets, medical crises, and high-stakes psychological warfare unfolding on the young and the restless. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in as we explore the intricate webs our favorite characters are currently weaving. The emotional landscape of Genoa City has never been more treacherous, and at the very epicenter of this current storm is Holden Novak. Holden's entire reality has been violently fractured, leaving him to navigate a terrifying new world built on the shattered remains of his mother's lifelong deceptions. For his entire life, Holden was fed a carefully constructed narrative by Dr. Stephanie Simmons regarding his paternity. He grew up bearing the heavy, isolating burden of being the kid with a deceased father, enduring the relentless teasing of childhood peers. To cope with this profound void, Holden often resorted to fabricating stories, telling other children that his father was still alive, secretly harboring a desperate wish for a paternal connection that he believed was forever lost to the grave. The psychological toll of this childhood trauma cannot be overstated. It shaped his identity, his insecurities, and his fundamental understanding of family. Now, the staggering revelation that his father is not only alive but is none other than the legendary Genoa City photographer Malcolm Winters has completely upended Holden's universe. The sheer magnitude of this discovery would be enough to send anyone into a profound existential crisis. But the universe has dealt Holden an even crueler hand. Almost immediately after discovering the identity of his biological father, Holden was thrust into a desperate, ticking-clock medical nightmare. Malcolm is currently hospitalized, fighting a losing battle against severe aplastic anemia, a condition that requires an immediate and perfectly matched bone marrow transplant. The joy of discovering his roots was instantly eclipsed by the horrifying realization that he might lose his father before he ever truly gets the chance to know him. This cruel twist of fate pushed Holden to immediately undergo genetic testing, carrying the desperate, fervent hope that he could be the miraculous savior his newfound father so desperately needs. The emotional weight of that medical test was astronomical. It was Holden's chance to instantly forge an unbreakable, life-saving bond with Malcolm, to validate his sudden entry into the powerful Winters family, and to heal the decades of separation in one heroic act. However, the results delivered a crushing, devastating blow. Holden is not a genetic match. The profound sense of inadequacy and guilt that currently consumes him is entirely suffocating. He feels as though he has failed his father in the most fundamental, biological way possible, compounding the dizzying trauma of his mother's lifelong lies. It is within this fragile, shattered state of mind that Holden finds himself desperately seeking a safe harbor, a listening ear completely removed from the toxic, suffocating expectations of his mother and the overwhelming grief of the Winters family. Enter Claire Newman. Claire, with her own complex history of navigating the treacherous waters of prominent Genoa City families, offers Holden a quiet, empathetic refuge. As they sit together, Claire provides exactly what Holden needs in this agonizing moment, a non-judgmental presence. She listens intently as his mind spins out of control, processing the sheer volume of trauma he has endured in such a condensed period. Holden pours out his heart, detailing the agonizing betrayal he feels towards Stephanie and the crushing helplessness of watching Malcolm fade away in a hospital bed. Claire's pristine connection to the powerful Newman legacy is entirely secondary to Holden in this moment. He is simply clinging to her genuine empathy. She validates his anger toward his mother's deceit and offers a gentle, grounding perspective on his inability to cure Malcolm, reminding him that genetic compatibility is a lottery, not a measure of a son's worth. For a brief, fleeting moment, Holden is able to exhale, finding a small measure of solace in Claire's calm, supportive demeanor. However, in Genoa City, moments of genuine peace are inevitably shattered by the machinations of those with hidden agendas, and this quiet interaction is no exception. The fragile sanctuary Holden and Claire have managed to construct is abruptly and aggressively invaded by the arrival of Dr. Stephanie Simmons. Stephanie's sudden appearance is no mere coincidence. She is a woman who operates with calculated precision, fiercely determined to control the narrative of her son's life, especially now that her decades-long lie has been spectacularly exposed. When Stephanie sees Holden finding comfort in the presence of Claire Newman, a profound shift occurs in her demeanor. Her eyes light up with a toxic, opportunistic approval. To Stephanie, Claire is not just a kind woman offering comfort to her distressed son. Claire is a Newman, a symbol of ultimate power, prestige, and social invulnerability in Genoa City. Stephanie immediately seizes upon this interaction, inserting herself into the conversation with a heavy-handed, manipulative enthusiasm that leaves Holden visibly mortified. She goes out of her way to aggressively praise Claire, entirely disregarding the deeply vulnerable nature of the conversation she just interrupted. Stephanie's approval of Claire is not rooted in a genuine appreciation for Claire's character, but rather in a calculated assessment of Claire's pedigree. Stephanie sees an alliance with the Newman family as the ultimate prize, a way to elevate her son's status and perhaps shield herself from the intense backlash she is facing for hiding Malcolm's paternity. But Stephanie does not stop at mere praise for Claire. She weaponizes her approval to launch a vicious, unprovoked attack on the other woman in Holden's life, Audra Charles. With breathtaking audacity, Stephanie loudly and explicitly declares to Holden that she prefers Claire 1,000 times over Audra. This statement is a calculated, devastating insult, designed to completely invalidate Holden's complex history and connection with Audra, while simultaneously attempting to strong-arm him into pursuing a romance with Claire. Stephanie is effectively trying to play God with her son's romantic life, using her sudden presence in Genoa City to orchestrate a social climbing maneuver under the guise of maternal concern. The sheer disrespect embedded in Stephanie's declaration is guaranteed to ignite a massive, explosive conflict. Audra Charles is not a woman who takes insults lightly, nor is she someone who tolerates being casually dismissed by an overbearing matriarch. Audra operates in the high-stakes, cutthroat world of corporate espionage and strategic manipulation. She is a shark who has continuously proven that she will ruthlessly destroy anyone who attempts to undermine her. While Audra's feelings for Holden have revealed a rare, unexpected vulnerability within her, Stephanie's blatant disrespect will undoubtedly trigger Audra's most vicious, defensive instincts. When Audra inevitably learns of Stephanie's aggressive matchmaking attempts and the explicit, humiliating comparison to Claire Newman, her reaction will be nothing short of volcanic. Audra will view Stephanie not just as an annoying mother, but as a direct, hostile threat to her territory and her autonomy. The battle lines are being aggressively drawn, setting the stage for a spectacular, high-society war between the ruthless corporate strategist and the manipulative medical professional. Stephanie may believe that her maternal authority and her preference for the Newman pedigree give her the upper hand, but she is vastly underestimating the sheer, unadulterated venom that Audra Charles is capable of unleashing when she feels slighted. Holden, already drowning in the grief of Malcolm's illness and the betrayal of his childhood, is now unwittingly trapped in the center of this brewing, toxic war between his mother and his fiercely independent lover. While Holden grapples with his mother's toxic interference, an entirely different, equally desperate drama is unfolding within the hallowed halls of the Genoa City Hospital, centering on the agonizing plight of the Winters family. Lily Winters is currently enduring a waking nightmare, carrying a burden of grief and helplessness that is threatening to completely break her resilient spirit. The confirmation that Holden is not a genetic match for Malcolm was a devastating blow, but it was only the latest in a series of agonizing medical defeats. Lily has already had to face the crushing reality that her own children, the twins Maddie and Charlie, have also been conclusively ruled out as viable bone marrow donors for their grandfather. The biological avenues for saving Malcolm are rapidly and terrifyingly closing, leaving Lily staring into the abyss of losing yet another foundational patriarch of the Winters family. The memory of losing Neil Winters still casts a long, painful shadow over Lily's heart, and the prospect of now losing Malcolm, her biological father, and a man whose vibrant spirit has always been a beacon for their family, is simply too much to bear. Lily is operating on sheer, exhausted adrenaline, desperately trying to maintain a facade of strength for her family, while internally she is entirely consumed by visceral despair and profound, suffocating grief. It is in this state of absolute vulnerability that Lily engages in a deeply fraught, emotionally raw conversation with Dr. Stephanie Simmons. Despite the immense tension surrounding Stephanie's past lives, Lily is forced to rely on her medical expertise and her connection to the situation. Their conversation is a stark, grim assessment of Malcolm's rapidly deteriorating condition. Lily is desperately pleading for alternative solutions, searching for any microscopic sliver of hope in a medical chart that offers nothing but impending tragedy. The sheer desperation in Lily's voice, the raw, unfiltered agony of a daughter begging for her father's life, echoes through the sterile hospital corridors. However, this deeply private, agonizing exchange does not go unheard. Lurking in the periphery, quietly observing the devastation of the woman he has never stopped loving, is Kane Ashby. Kane's presence in the shadows is a testament to the complex, enduring, and often painful history he shares with Lily. Their relationship has weathered unimaginable storms, profound betrayals, and deep, lingering scars, yet the fundamental bond between them has never truly been severed. Hearing the sheer terror in Lily's voice, listening to the grim reality that his own children failed to provide the life-saving match for Malcolm, triggers a profound emotional awakening within Kane. Kane is suddenly overwhelmed by a complex tidal wave of emotions, deep paternal guilt that Maddie and Charlie could not be the saviors, immense empathy for the excruciating pain Lily is enduring, and a fierce, undeniable, heroic determination to step into the breach and fix this seemingly insurmountable crisis. Kane is a man who has often struggled with his own demons and past mistakes, constantly seeking a path to true redemption in the eyes of the Winters family. This medical crisis presents him with the ultimate opportunity to prove his unwavering devotion to Lily and to honor the legacy of the family he still deeply respects. Unable to remain a passive observer to Lily's suffering any longer, Kane makes the bold, decisive choice to step out of the shadows and directly intervene. His approach to Lily and Stephanie is careful, measured, but underpinned by an ironclad resolve. He doesn't offer empty platitudes or hollow comforts. Instead, Kane brings the full, formidable weight of his resources and his sheer force of will to the table. He looks Lily directly in the eyes, seeing the exhaustion and the terror etched into her features, and he makes a sweeping, monumental vow. Kane declares that he will not allow Malcolm to die without exhausting every single conceivable option on the face of the earth. Kane's bold move extends far beyond mere financial assistance, though he immediately pledges to utilize every ounce of his considerable wealth and his extensive global connections to launch a massive, unprecedented search for an external bone marrow donor. He intends to bypass the standard registries, utilizing private investigators and medical headhunters to scour the globe for a genetic match. But Kane's heroic intervention does not stop at writing blank checks and making phone calls. Driven by a desperate need to save his former father-in-law and to alleviate Lily's unbearable pain, Kane makes the ultimate, deeply personal commitment. He announces his intention to immediately undergo genetic testing himself. The psychological weight of Kane's decision to get tested is profound. While the statistical odds of an unrelated individual being a perfect bone marrow match are astronomically low, the mere act of Kane offering his own body, his own biology, to save Malcolm is a testament to the depth of his character and the endurance of his love for Lily. Kane is willing to endure the painful medical procedures, to face the anxiety of the waiting period, and to potentially become the literal lifeblood that sustains the Winters family patriarch. If, by some miraculous twist of genetic fate, Kane Ashby turns out to be the perfect match that saves Malcolm Winters, it would fundamentally rewrite the entire history and future of his relationship with Lily, cementing his status not just as an ex-husband, but as the ultimate savior of her family. While Kane Ashby embarks on a noble, desperate quest to save a life, another prominent Genoa City figure is hurtling down a terrifyingly dangerous path that threatens to destroy everything he holds dear. Nick Newman is currently entirely consumed by a dark, insidious spiral of substance abuse, and his reckless actions are placing both himself and his loved ones in unimaginable peril. The genesis of this current crisis lies in the severe physical and emotional trauma Nick recently endured, which led him to rely heavily on prescription painkillers. However, what began as a medical necessity has rapidly metastasized into a full-blown, life-threatening addiction. Nick's descent into this chemical abyss has been marked by a terrifying level of deceit and profound psychological denial. He has convinced himself that he is entirely in control, that the pills are merely a tool to help him manage the overwhelming stress of his chaotic life. This dangerous delusion was starkly highlighted when Nick deliberately and secretly stole additional bags of pills from the storage room where he was previously trapped, ensuring he has a massive, hidden stockpile to feed his growing dependency. Nick is constantly under the heavy, mind-altering influence of these narcotics, walking through his life in a dangerous, hazy state of artificial numbness, completely blind to the catastrophic impairment of his own judgment. The tragic irony of Nick's situation is that his family currently needs him to be sharper, more focused, and more heroic than ever before, yet his mind is clouded by a toxic fog of prescription drugs. The ultimate catalyst for this impending disaster is the sinister, sadistic machinations of Matt Clark. Matt is a ghost from the past, a man whose history with Nick and Sharon Newman is defined by profound abuse, relentless terror, and deep psychological scarring. Matt's hatred for the Newmans is pathological, and he has returned with a master plan designed to inflict the maximum possible agony upon Nick. Matt's current scheme is a masterpiece of psychological torture. He has successfully lured Sharon and Noah Newman, the two people Nick loves more than life itself, into a deadly, inescapable trap at an abandoned, dilapidated gas station on the desolate outskirts of Las Vegas. Matt's intention is not simply to kill them. His goal is to force Nick to witness their destruction, to break Nick's spirit entirely before ending his life. The stakes are unimaginably high, requiring a rescue mission executed with flawless precision, absolute clarity, and lightning-fast reflexes. Instead, the man rushing to the rescue is a heavily medicated addict operating on severely delayed reaction times and impaired cognitive function. When Nick receives the terrifying intelligence regarding Matt's location and the imminent danger facing Sharon and Noah, his reaction is driven by pure, primal panic, entirely unfiltered by rational thought. He immediately gets behind the wheel of a car, a decision that instantly transforms him from a desperate father into a lethal weapon on the highway. Nick's driving is erratic, aggressive, and deeply dangerous, fueled by a chaotic cocktail of adrenaline, terror, and high-grade narcotics. Trapped in the passenger seat of this terrifying, high-speed nightmare is Adam Newman. Adam, despite his own complex and often antagonistic history with his brother, is currently acting as the voice of desperate reason. Adam's sharp, observant eyes have long suspected Nick's hidden addiction. He has noticed the mood swings, the pinpoint pupils, the uncharacteristic recklessness, and the subtle, telltale signs of a man drowning in pills. As Nick swerves wildly across the desert highway, his foot heavy on the accelerator, Adam is vocalizing his profound alarm. He is actively warning Nick, pleading with him to pull over, to let Adam drive, to recognize that his current state of intoxication is actively jeopardizing their ability to save Sharon and Noah. But Nick is entirely deaf to Adam's warnings. His drug-addled brain interprets Adam's genuine concern as an attack, triggering a fierce, aggressive defensiveness. Nick loudly and vehemently denies that he is under the influence, lying through his teeth while his hands tremble on the steering wheel. This profound denial is the hallmark of a deep addiction. Nick genuinely believes that his chemically altered state is the only thing giving him the edge he needs to face Matt Clark. He cannot see that his arrogance and his reliance on the pills are the very things that might ultimately doom his family. As the car hurtles closer to the abandoned gas station, the horrific reality of Matt Clark's trap awaits them. Matt has not simply locked Sharon and Noah in a room. He has constructed a sadistic, lethal puzzle. He has tied Sharon and Noah to opposite ends of a crude, industrial pulley system, suspended directly over a leaking, highly explosive gas tank. Matt stands in the shadows, holding the detonator, reveling in his absolute control. He is preparing to force Nick into the ultimate, soul-crushing psychological test, the impossible Sophie's choice. Matt intends to force Nick to choose which of his loved ones to save before the bomb detonates, ensuring that even if Nick survives, the rest of his life will be consumed by an eternal, suffocating darkness of guilt. This is the exact moment when Nick's addiction transitions from a personal tragedy into a catastrophic liability. To outsmart a psychopath like Matt Clark, to find a hidden flaw in the pulley system, to execute a miraculous, split-second rescue, Nick needs to be operating at peak mental and physical capacity. Instead, he will arrive at the scene stumbling, his vision blurred, his mind sluggish, and his emotional regulation completely shattered by the drugs. The tragic, horrifying question hanging over the Nevada desert is whether Nick's drug-fueled impairment will be the final, fatal variable that allows Matt Clark to win. Will Nick's delayed reaction time cost Sharon her life? Will his inability to focus result in Noah's death? The tension is unbearable. Nick Newman, a man who has always prided himself on being the ultimate protector of his family, is currently his own worst enemy. He is speeding toward a confrontation with pure evil, armed with nothing but a desperate heart and a bloodstream full of narcotics. Adam sits beside him, bracing for the inevitable crash, both vehicular and psychological, knowing that they are walking directly into a slaughterhouse. Meanwhile, back in Genoa City, Kane Ashby prepares to offer his own blood and bone to save a dying man. While Holden Novak is caught in the crossfire of his mother's toxic ambitions and Audra Charles's impending wrath, the lives of the Winters, the Newmans, and everyone connected to them are currently hanging by the thinnest, most fragile of threads, waiting for the devastating consequences of secrets, lies, and chemical dependencies to finally shatter their worlds.